Hello folks, welcome to my YouTube channel Watercolor Impressions. This week we are going to learn how to paint a pond. This reference was taken at Tron Island. Before you go, hit the subscribe button so you guys can get weekly video updates from our channel. And let's get started, guys. Check my video description for the drawing template and reference so you guys can download it and follow with me with this tutorial. So as you can see in the reference can be quite overwhelming because there is a lot of details and there is a lot of positive and negative shapes. In any case like this, you have to simplify a scene and you have to capture the essence of the reference or something which is in front of you. So the key things to remember when you come up with subjects like this is to create a good composition and create depth by using different values from mid value to lighter value and toward the darkest value as possible. So I will start with the light wash using Cobalt Blue, and as it comes down I'm going to warm up the wash so that will create a glow in distance and it also create depth. So I'm also leaving some white bits for my there's an house which is at the there's like a building at the back, so I'm just putting some values for it. And for that I'm using Radiant, and I'm making sure I'm keeping it light, and I'm also throwing some warmer colors at the distance. And being said that, I'm trying to combine each shapes as possible because there's going to be a darker value at the back. So now I'm starting with the water. For the water, it should look like a glass because it will be reflecting the sky on the plane. And as it comes down, I'm going to increase my pigment consistency. So I start with the Cobalt Blue. As it comes down, I used French Ultramarine Blue and a little bit of Winsor Violet at the bottom. So now, once we finish our first wash, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use clean water in the background. So before it dries out, I'm going to throw colors here and there. And it looks a little bit of warmer now, so I'm going to put some green using Cobalt Blue and a little bit of Cadmium Yellow in it. So that's how I mix my greens, and if I want a darker pigment I will use a little bit of Radiant. So I'm squinting my eyes, I'm checking where my darker values are, so I'm just throwing the colors here and there. So, and I'm also getting a variety of edges and shapes, so it looks really good at the end. When you do that, you might get lost in details, so I usually squint my eyes and I see where the detail goes. Being said that, leave some white bits here and there, so that will show a little bit of illumination of light from distance. Sometimes I try to leave some white bits, even though when I try, I ended up covering it all. Before drying out, I'm just trying to throw colors as much as possible because it will work for itself and it blends by itself. That's a beautiful thing about watercolors. Being said that, I felt that I caught up with a lot of details on the trees. The trees which is on the background, it's just a stand-in, but I ended up putting a lot of details in there. Now I realized it. The whole painting is about the water and the leaves which is on the top of it and a little bit of flowers here and there. And the rest is just alders. But being said that, I'll just put some midtone value in the background. I'm going to introduce a little bit of darker value because that will create a contrast between light and darks. And I also put this composition element exactly in the magic spot, and that also creates a little bit of interesting element for our composition too. As I said, sometimes if you have a really overwhelming subject, I would create depth and distance using my values, and I also place composition elements in such a way that it's really good for our painting. And I'm trying to paint as fast as possible. Even though it's a background, I'm adding a lot of details, but you know, so be it. I'll just get it done. As you can see, like, it is a lighter, and I would have left it as it is, but there's also an hut which is at the top of it and which is hiding in the trees, but I'll just add it as a interesting element. And you could see in distance there's a lot of details on this hut, but I'm just trying to put a little bit of details because when people see this painting from far, and that's all it needed, you don't have to render each and every roof shadows and everything in it. And you can see at the background I just do a mirror stroke, and I'm just like finishing it really fast as possible, because I don't want to stick in background, because I want to paint the midground and everything. So this tree which is in the foreground, I want to make sure this tree reads really good, because it's going to be in the foreground. It's also going to add as a lead-in for us, and this also frames that composition and art and everything in there. And you can see I started with a lighter value with Cadmium Yellow. Before it dries out, I'm mixing Cadmium Yellow, Cobalt Blue, and I'm adding that mill value at the bottom, so it creates that forms and it turns around. And I'm also going to introduce a little bit of darker pigment at the bottom as well, so that gives a little bit of lighting in the trees. And I'm also making sure this tree goes everything vertical, and I'm also expressing my strokes in a really confident way. That is really important. I learned it by doing a lot. Let's focus on the leaves on the water plane. In distance, I'll make it a mirror stroke, but as it comes to the midground, I'll just put some leaves, even though there's thousands of leaves there, and I'll make it sure that I'll group it in such a way that it also takes us into the painting. And you could see it is smaller in the distance as it comes in the foreground, and the midground the size varies with the leaves, and that way you can also create depth and distance using perspective as well. And so now what I'm going to do, so I went again and finished the reflection. This is the easy part, so I want to show you guys. So wet the paper and put some darker pigment, and use clean water to run it off till the midground to the foreground. It's a really easy step. So once it dries out, this is how it looks like. And the foreground tree, it's going in midground. I want to bring that foreground tree in the foreground. So I'm just increasing a little bit of darker pigment in it, so it works. And we are almost at the end of our painting. Now take some white paint and bring some light back in the leaves and in the water. So the leaves which is on the water plane looks really weak, and we need to add some shadows so that it looks like it's sitting on the water plane. So I'll be adding a lot of shadows in the foreground than rest of the painting, because the foreground which take us into the painting. So I'm just being aware of it and adding a little bit and not overdoing it, because sometimes you can also overwork your painting. So I'm also trying to bring back some of the islets and trying to focus on the leaves which has a lot of details in it. So I'm taking some good old white paint to bring back some of the light in our painting, even though you can leave white bits when you paint, and you can be careful, sometimes you miss it. So I'm just using white paint to bring it back. When you do this step, don't make sure not to overdo it. And I'm also adding some flowers here and there. And I also, in every painting I do, I try to add some people. So I add some people in distance, so that shows the scale for our painting. So now it's your turn. Take my drawing template and reference, and let's see what you can come up with. If you ended up painting this painting, please share with me, and I'd love to share with my subscribers. Thanks again for watching this how to paint a pond video tutorial with me. Let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section. If you want me to cover any of the subjects in watercolors, or write me at watercolorimpressions@gmail.com or comment below. Before you go, hit the subscribe button so you guys can get weekly video updates from our channel. And please do share with your friends and family. And good luck.